I am Marwan Cameron, and this is the Conduit. All right, everyone, how you doing? It is Wednesday. We're halfway through the week. 5 o'clock, 64 degrees in Kitsap County. So glad that you can join us today. Got a good show for you, as always. Hope your day was productive. I know that mine was. Definitely busy, a lot of stuff going on. As you can see, I'm feeling and looking a lot better today, getting stronger and healthier. Tell you what, it's hard having COVID, but I think it's good to talk about because people need to understand what it's like going through being vaccinated and having a breakthrough case. I definitely believe had I not been vaccinated, I would have been in the hospital or worse. As you know, I have a myriad of health conditions, and when I get sick, I get really sick. So being vaccinated was definitely the right decision for me, and definitely the right decision for my team. They're definitely grateful that I came around on getting vaccinated. So I may talk about that. I went to urgent care yesterday and had another test done, and it did show that I was still positive. And what they're saying is you may still have some of the dead virus in your system, and so it's going to show as positive. And so, education is important. So, that may be one of the reasons why I needed to go through it so I could share it with all of you. So the one thing that's interesting is even though they're telling me I can be out and around people now, I'm still going to have symptoms. So, if I cough and I'm around you, I do not. I am not contagious at this point in time. It's like, the end part of a flu or a cold, right? So it is what it is. I still can't smell. I'm definitely still tired. I have this cough. And I probably will go over the paperwork that they gave me yesterday because that was really interesting and surprising. I didn't know that that was the case. But as I said before, as much information as we can come across and then share out with the public, I think the better, to try to cut through, what's true, what's not. And the more I definitely participate in sharing what my symptoms are, because the more of us that do that, the better picture they can get as far as what the experience is for people. So, that's it. But I already have some beautiful people backstage. I'm going to bring them on here in just a second. I didn't want to forget to share with you the Global Day of Climate Action on September 25th at 11 a.m. They will be meeting at the Manette Bridge and marching to Evergreen Park. So that will be the Global Day of Climate Action. Definitely want to go ahead and take part in that. We are talking about our emergency management series, which is important. I see you out there, Rob. Thank you for letting me know my video and audio is good. Always good to have folks checking on you and making sure that everything is all right. That's very important to have. The other thing that I wanted to share with you also is the Resilient Community Workshop Series. And so this is going to be Thursdays from 6:30 p.m., September 23rd to December 16th, hosted by the Black Ring Spirits on 1700 Mile Hill Drive, Suite 116 in Port Orchard. They do have a very limited sign up because of COVID. I think they're taking about maybe 10 slots, and there are still some slots open. So this is put on by the Kitsap Resiliency Project. And so very powerful. I actually wish that I could take part in this because, as I said before, I'm trying to make sure that myself and my team are set in case of an emergency, right? 1 gallon of water per day per person. And then you need to have food and some other emergency essentials. So check out some of our other podcasts to see that. Let me go ahead and pop that up there right quick. But let me go ahead and bring my folks on. As always, how are you ladies doing? I think you are muted.
Hello, buenas tardes. Hola, doing good. What about you, Marwan?
Oh, I am blessed and highly favored. Blessed and highly favored. So who do you have with you today?
My name's Katrina. I volunteered with her on the 9/11 event.
How you doing, Katrina? Well,
How
fantastic.
are you?
You joined the podcast. Like I said, I'm blessed and highly favored. I got COVID and I'm trying to get better, so I'm feeling pretty good. But Martita and a lot of other folks have been taking care of me and making sure that I get my rest and I drink my drinks and stay healthy and do what I got to do. So I'm here part and parcel because of them.
Oh, we're here. It's about helping each other, right? We are brothers, sisters, and if we can give a hand, I know you was giving a hand to a lot of people, and now it's your turn to accept the blessings. Okay,
No,
he is so hard. No, no, no.
no.
It's your turn. You need to open up and accept the blessings. Yes.
We talked about that. And I think it's a good teachable moment. My dad was kind of the same way that I am. I've emulated him in a lot of ways. And so we are very giving of ourselves, of helping people, but we're not really good at accepting help. And I actually told you that in the text.
Yeah.
That I'm not used to that. I'm not going to ask for it. And then even when it's offered, I'm very reluctant to accept it. And it is something that, you've got to put your pride on the shelf, and you have to allow folks to help you when you need the help. And one, that's important. But two, when they say things like it's better to give than to receive, that is really a true story. So when you don't allow someone to do something for you, you're robbing them of that. So it's important that you allow people to help you, because that's their way of showing love and caring to you. So it's a hard thing. It's something that I'm learning. I'll say, no, 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 I'm okay, fine. So I appreciate it.
Yes, yes, it is hard when just a giver. I'm the same to you. I say no, no, I'll be all right, da, 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 and no, I can do it myself. And then sometimes you had to again. Mommy told me, girl, you need to accept the blessing, and then it when it hit me, and I said, mommy, I'm okay. I don't need anything. Please, God, had things for you guys, and then accept the blessing. Don't reject a blessing. So again, it is so hard when you're a giver, and yes, so we are here for you and our community. Thank you. Yes.
You know what, what's really
Katrina,
important about that
oh,
too is
your last name.
what's really important about that also is, our series is centered around emergency management and equity. And that's a part of it, right? So if you're talking about having your plan set, who is part of your emergency management plan? Who are you going to lean on? Who are you going to who's going to be able to do the different things for you, right? There are a lot of things that I can't do. Cooking is one. I can cook, I just don't cook well, right? I'm not going to blow your mind with my culinary cuisine. But there are some other things that I can do. And so I want to try to gather folks around me that can kind of fill those gaps in, and so that I have a full complement of everything that I need, right? And then I also want to try to learn some of the things that I may need to know. I can't just assume that everybody is, going to rally around me and just be there and fill in all those gaps. I do need to learn some skills also. So I want to get into some gardening and learn how to kind of grow some fruits and vegetables. I do have a construction background, but I want to get into more carpentry. So I'm going to have Rob show me some of those things and just kind of on my support system. So do either of you have folks like that, or do you have any kind of active or passive plan in your mind like that?
Yes, we do. Sorry, I'm just a little distracted, and he's trying to log in. Let me just, Katrina, do you want to answer to him to see if you have any?
You mean like some kind of other things we want to get good at? I wasn't really sure of the question.
So let's say we had an earthquake and we got kind of cut off from the rest of civilization for a while, right? Where do you go? Where are you going to make sure that you are fed, you have shelter, you're safe? Where do you go to find out what the latest information is if you need to get supplies out in the community? things like that.
Well, my dad and has already like made. We have a crate in our garage full of like non-perishable foods that we can like get to that'll sustain us for a really long time if a tragic event were to occur.
Okay. And so do you have a family plan? Do you talk about it? This is the rally point. This is where we're gonna call each other.
We actually don't. So if like signal were to go down and Wi-Fi were to like go down and no cell service, there would probably be a panic.
Oh, snap. See, so that's an opportunity, right? This is the month of emergency preparedness. You need to have some type of a family plan in place of how to check in and where to rally, you know?
Yeah.
Yes.
What was your experience like, going through, COVID and the uncertainty last year? If you can think back that far when everything shut down and it was like, oh man, what's going on?
Well, I lived in New York when COVID really hit and school shut down in like February. So I moved in like the middle of that. So the online school, I didn't know anybody, and it was really difficult to continue like online because I had no social interaction with anybody. So the school year was really hard, and I was really sad for a while. But now that we can go to school and it's not virtual, things have become better.
Hey, Jenny, I sent you the link.
So how did you feel? Was it scary for you to have the uncertainty? You're seeing the numbers of people that are getting COVID, and on CNN, they've got this death ticker, which is pretty horrifying. It's like, what is happening? How did you feel about that?
Well, especially with like moving, because as soon as it hit, like we stayed home. We didn't go anywhere, and then moving was kind of like a bit scary because some states that we were traveling through, because we traveled by car, were like, we don't believe in this virus, and people wouldn't wear masks, and I had to constantly like interact with people. So it was a bit scary because I didn't know how deadly the virus was. So, I mean, I was pretty scared, especially for like my grandparents as well, because if they got sick, I didn't know if they would make it.
So can I ask, did you get vaccinated?
Just a minute.
I have not gotten vaccinated yet. No, I'm trying to, but
you're trying to. Okay. So what's been your hesitancy to this point?
Well, my mom's concerned because our genetic autoimmune diseases in our family, so she doesn't want any kind of complications like with the vaccine that could like trigger something to happen, is what she tells me. I mean because some people get like the blood clots, but that's, from my understanding, just with the Johnson & Johnson. But I've been trying to get vaccinated, and I think she's really considering it, and that I might get vaccinated soon, but I'm not sure.
So do you feel like you want to be vaccinated, but it's just kind of right now the uncertainty from your mom?
Yeah. Because since I'm not vaccinated, I don't go anywhere because I don't want to go anywhere. I don't want to like cause somebody else to get it, and then also bring it home. So I want to be more involved with like things in the community and sports, but I just don't want to do that knowing that I'm not vaccinated.
Right, absolutely. And that's a hard choice, but it's also a brave choice, and it's super responsible, for you to, be so thoughtful about the people around you, saying, you know what, I want to keep myself safe, but I also want to keep them safe. So right now, until I get to the point where we feel good as a family to get vaccinated, I'm just going to try to kind of isolate a little bit. So definitely applaud you for that. For sure. But what's interesting is we have a similar story. I have an autoimmune also with a bunch of other health conditions, and when the vaccine came available, I wasn't going to get it. No one on my staff was going to get it. We were super against it. And for a lot of the reasons that you hear, right? And so it took quite a bit of, listening to my doctor, talking to other people that I, trust and believe, doing a lot of my own research, and then, finally weighing it and saying, okay, the benefit outweighs the risk. And my doctor is saying, okay, even with your autoimmune and everything else, you should probably get this. And so it was like, all right, I had to think about it for a little while, but then I decided to do it. And after that, because of the respect that I hold for the group, my folks slowly began to become vaccinated. And so everyone on my team now is vaccinated. But they all had to come to that decision on their own. And it was a hard one. So I definitely understand where people have that hesitancy for whatever that reason is. And, you've got a lot of pressure on you on top of everything else. And then you see mandates and everything. So definitely could be a stressful time for sure. But yeah, thank you for sharing that. Martita is trying to make sure that everyone gets signed in here. I just sent you the link again. Is that working?
Yes, this is for the direct stream, right?
Yep.
Okay. Do you have computer? I mentioned computer, but okay. Now do you have? Let's see if they can get in. You have to join in the computer, not on the phone. Or do you have? I think
they definitely come in on a computer.
Yes, I mentioned that.
It could be hit and miss. So
yes, so yeah, Jenny and her team is coming up, but again, they're having troubles.
That's all right. Go ahead and work on that. I'll keep talking with Katrina, which is awesome. So yes. Katrina, tell me a little bit about yourself. Where are you from New York? I was actually born in Buffalo, so I'm a big Buffalo Bills fan, even though we're horrible.
Well, I've kind of been all over because my dad's in the military. So I lived in New York for 3 years. Like I was born in Virginia, moved to South Carolina for 5 years, then Washington here for 4, then New York for 3, and then I just came back. So
what do you like? Where do you like the best?
I really love Florida because it's really sunny a lot. Like I know they have their like stormy season, but it's really nice and warm. But the view here in Washington and the people here are pretty amazing.
That's right. Yeah, Washington is pretty awesome. Now, did you like New York or?
I lived in Saratoga, and like the area was kind of like I have 3 really good friends that I keep in contact with almost every day. So it wasn't all bad, but the school was definitely separated between like who was like financially like well, like who was like it was rich and then like poor went to school, and there was just like kind of like a lot of hate in there between like different groups of people. So it wasn't really the best place, I would say. There were some good people, but a lot of people were pretty mean there.
Really?
So, yeah.
Did you ever get up to like Niagara Falls or anything?
I did, yeah. It was really pretty. I went on the American side and the Canadian side. It was beautiful.
Oh, nice. All right. Yeah, I think I was, probably like 7 or 8. When I went to Niagara Falls. So I haven't been back to upstate New York since I left. I've been back to New York, but just not up there. So it's pretty interesting. So you're still in high school right now?
Yeah, I'm a junior right now.
All
11th grade.
Do you know what you want to do after you leave high school?
No, I don't.
Like, I didn't know this was going to turn into an interview.
I don't know. I plan to do like 2 years of like community college after I graduate from high school. So I was thinking of pursuing something in business because that leaves like a lot of doors open for different career choices.
Nice.
But I'm not sure. Maybe I kind of wanted to take a
Yes.
psychology
So they have
class
to be
because that
social
interests me,
because
but I'm not really
I
sure what I want to do.
And it goes straight.
So how did you get connected with Martita and what is the name of her organization? I always stutter when I say it.
What? The name of her organization?
Yeah. So let me see.
I'm
if it's
Martita.
Zoom.
What's the name of your organization? How do you say it?
Yeah, just a minute. Kids Up Mesa. I need to teach her the Spanish. Redonda.
Redonda.
Kids Up Mesa Redonda.
Kids at Mesa Redonda. Yeah.
And Lash.
And
With Karen Vargas.
Okay.
Just a minute, Marta. Marwan, I know we're live. They're having troubles connecting. There is any other Zoom link or something that they can yes, that they can join?
Yeah, let me send this to you one more time. If that doesn't work, what I'll do is I'll launch a Zoom and give them the link and then have them come in that way. Okay.
So I'm going to send another email. Okay.
And then I'll do that right now.
Okay.
So while we're doing that, could you tell me, how did you get involved with Martita? How did that come about?
She's actually my next door neighbor. I live right across from her.
What?
Yeah. So we knew each other 3 years ago. Well, a little before that. You know, we met when I moved here. She's a fantastic person, and she's like family to me. So she introduced me to her program, and now that I'm like old enough, I wanted to help her and be more involved with the community.
That's pretty cool. That's an awesome story, actually. You know, I don't even talk to my neighbors.
Katrina, talk to our audience about the project that you want to do.
Okay.
And it's, you know, she wants to get involved in this project that she have, but she needs someone too to help her. Can you talk about your project?
So
yeah.
I'm a Girl Scout. I've been a Girl Scout since I was in 3rd grade. And I've completed my bronze and silver awards. And for my silver award, I did a 24/7 portable food pantry. I built 4 of them with a partner, and we set them up near 4 churches so that people would always have access to food, since food pantries aren't always available to people at convenient times, and sometimes you can only go like once every few weeks or months. So people need food, and the food pantries are close to them. So me and my partner built 4 blessing boxes, set them up near churches, and the church members refill them. So it's a sustaining project. It'll continue.
So how did you come up with the idea?
Well, me and my friend Avery, we were partners, and because I did this in New York. So in Saratoga, there was we decided to help those who we decided to help people that were struggling to get food, and we spent a really long time getting funds, and we constructed the boxes ourselves. And but for my gold award, I wanted to expand on that a bit, because after me and my friend did that, people reached out saying that they wanted a box, but it does cost money to make, because you have 4 poles that go in the ground, and then the wood and paint, and roof is also like quite a bit expensive. We got a really large fund from the Soroptimists. It's a group of women who funded us.
I know about Soroptimists.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so
is that Mo as part of Soroptimists, correct?
What?
Mo?
Miss
Maureen?
I'm not sure. I don't know Miss Mo.
That was in New York, right?
Yeah, this was in New
She's
York.
talking about New York. Yes.
Not Seroptimus
Yeah.
here. Yeah, I forget
Yeah.
Seroptimus is
Yes.
than just in Washington.
Yeah. So people reached out to us and said that they wanted to have us build a box, but there was a lack of fund, a lack of materials, you know. So I plan to create a website and build another box so I can demonstrate a more cost-effective way to still make a sustaining box so other people can put it in their communities.
I think that is fantastic. So you said that there's a cost that's associated with it. How you doing there, Okoye? She's on. The link is working just fine for her.
Hello, everybody. Yeah, just a little technical difficulty, but
no worries. Welcome. We're talking with Katrina here, and she's telling us about her project, and she's telling us that there's a cost associated with it. So what is this cost? And if someone wanted to try to help you out, you know, how would they go about trying to help you with your project?
Well, it's been a long time since I've been able to really work on it with COVID and everything. I don't know. I don't remember the exact cost. I just remember that we it was like 4 steel rods in the ground. Those were expensive because they would last outside. We had a spray to protect the box against weather. I don't exactly remember the cost of the box, but I remember that it was pretty steep to build one yourself. This is why we relied off of fund.
So is it something that you plan
people
to work in your junior and senior year here?
Yes. Now that I've gotten back into school, I plan to dedicate my weekends to working on my site and my box and trying to get it done, a lot of it done before summer.
Nice.
Because I have junior year, junior summer, senior year, and then the summer of senior year to get it done.
Okay. All right. So, you know, again, hopefully when you start getting it going, you'll be willing to come back on and kind of share that with us. Because I'm sure people would love to get involved and try to help you out with that for sure.
Yeah.
I think that would be really pretty cool.
Yes. And then her project, she can reach out to me. I know that she had the website, but again, she needs the support with that. She wants to, you know, she had marvelous ideas. She worked in this project, and now she wants to do it for this community, for our community.
Gotcha. Okay. I think that is fantastic. I love it. And the good thing is that we do have the ladies from CK. They are now on. So welcome to you. How are you guys doing this evening?
we are doing much better now that this link worked for us.
Hey, you know what? You gotta love technology, right?
Yes. Thank you for sending us a Zoom link. Yes.
You gotta ride the wave. Because right now my helper's not physically here with me, so I'm like, okay, create a Zoom link, keep the live show going, run a conversation, keep paying attention. Switch to camera 2.
Yeah.
Check the chat. It's pretty crazy, but it's a lot of fun.
Well, thank you for your flexibility.
Well, you know what? No one has ever accused me of being flexible before. That is such a compliment. I really appreciate that. So welcome back. We have 2 of our guests that were here with us last week, and they have come back with us. So we have Jenny Zapatka, who is the Director of Equity and Inclusion at CK School District. And then we also have Martha Little, who is the Equity Specialist at CK School District. And we should also be being joined with by Amy Brown. Is that correct?
So, Amy White, I'm the other equity specialist, and Jenny Zapaka is still trying to get into the Zoom. So she's not here with us quite yet, but she is trying to get on.
Did you say Amy White?
Amy White, yes.
Okay, I will change your name. You know, I got a color in the crayon box. I just had the wrong color. So
it's true, yeah.
I will fix that. Where did I get brown from? That's pretty funny.
It's okay.
So Amy, Jenny and Martha have been here before. Would you mind telling us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. Yeah. So I'm Amy White, and I'm new to the equity specialist position in CK, along with Martha. Both of us are new to it. I am coming out of the classroom. I've been teaching at Fairview Middle School for the last several years. I taught reading intervention, and then I also taught yearbook. And then prior to that, I taught elementary school for several years. So excited. It's definitely different to be out of the classroom right now because I've not had a school year like that before. But I'm excited to be in this new role.
Oh, absolutely. Well, thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate that. And I see both of you ladies are wearing your mask.
Yeah.
So you are clearly in a public place doing what you got to do. I was telling everyone that I'm getting better. As you know, I've been, fighting this COVID thing myself. And it's no joke. I'm definitely happy that I was vaccinated because it did take a lot out of me. I still have a lot of symptoms, even though they're saying I'm on the other side now. It'd be good to get back out, on the road, so to speak, and join, everyone else. But I also want to make sure that I'm keeping folks safe. I don't want to expose anyone to anything. So that's really important for me to do also. So, but it's nice to, feel like, okay, I can get back out there now. So, Martita and Okoye and Christina, the three ladies from CK are on. If you want to say hello to them.
I just want to say thank you so much, Jenny. Thank you, Martha, and thank you, Amy. I know it's frustrated because the links, and it is so hard. We had sent it like a few minutes before the show, and then it wasn't working. Mine worked. I don't know, it's some different systems, but thank you for your patience, and we just want to welcome you, and yes, we'll see how we can work together. Akuye and Christina.
All right, so that's awesome. We're gonna go ahead and get right into our questions, if you ladies don't mind. And so the first question is, as a new equity director, what can the Hispanic community expect to see from your leadership? And what is your vision for moving forward in meeting the needs of this particular community?
I know you said equity director, but I'm going to let Martha answer that one as our Hispanic representative. And so, Martha, do you want to take that one?
Absolutely. So, well, the first thing that you can expect is that we are celebrating Hispanic Heritage Month. And so we launched that today. We have some, we have student voice, and we have videos from teachers. Our superintendent, Erin Prince, has a video where she, again, is celebrating Hispanic Heritage Month. And so we are excited to be able to celebrate the culture, the history, the contributions, and everything that our Hispanic community brings to Central Kitsap School District. And so starting with that, the celebration, that's huge. And then as far as what we're doing for our Hispanic community is Central Kitsap has hired, and I don't know if I'm going to get the title right, but essentially we have an interpreter and translator for the district, and her work is vital to communicating and building those communication bridges between staff, the district, and our families and our students. So meeting those needs, both the needs of the buildings and our district, as far as we communicating with our families, and then of course from the families back to us. The other thing we're doing is we have started developing systems of communication that will allow us to be able to share any critical information, and then and those important messages that our buildings want to get out to staff. So we're building systems so that our Hispanic community can have that communication in their language, but also not just in a written form, but also in other forms that will allow them to access the information in a culturally responsive and sustaining way. And so we're excited. There's a lot of work that that we're still working through, and I'm sure that as the year continues, that we will continue to add to what we've started so far.
All right, awesome. Thank you so much for that.
Mm-hmm.
And I did want to give folks an update. We did ask Drayton Jackson, who is on the school board for CK. He is in another conference, so he was unable to join us this evening. But that's awesome. I'm gonna pass the second question on to Martita.
I forgot. Yes, thank you. My next question would be, what equity issues do you see in students, specifically and students from Central Kids schools, impacting the Hispanic students? Sorry. So let me rephrase it. So, what equity issues do you see that are impacting the Hispanic students in Central Kids schools? Any issues of equity that students from Central Kids School are facing? And I'm directly this through talking about the Hispanic students.
So I could probably answer part of this, Jenny. So when it comes to our Hispanic students, oftentimes the greatest barrier or equity issue or need that they have is really it's twofold: the families needing access to information and needing access to supports for their students, and then from our students, it's being able to access the content in a comprehensible way. And so something that Central Kitsap has done is that I am aware of, and again, I am new to the district, and then Jenny might be able to speak to this a little more, is something that Central Kitsap School District has done is they have, they're training their teachers in a let's see, strategies that are effective language acquisition strategies. And so, they're PSYOP strategies. And so these are research-based best practices for teaching content and teaching language at the same time. And the other thing that I have been very impressed with Central Kitsap is that they have also ensured that in their buildings they have EL endorsed literacy specialists or TOSAs that are there to support students in their language acquisition and support staff in using best practices when teaching students. And so I guess those are the barriers would be the language and being able to access the content, and then the supports are what Central Kitsap is doing to ensure that they are minimizing or removing those barriers.
I would add.
And before Jenny?
Yeah, I was going to say barrier is home security and food security. Building on, I guess, going deeper on what Martha had said, are the Hispanic families which are homeless or living in a environment with multiple people, and being able to communicate and access resources. Again, it's kind of the language barrier, not being aware of the resources that are there. And being able to communicate what the need is when it comes to accessing food or accessing shelter. So that is a barrier that we have been working on solutions for at the start of this school year.
Okay, and my next question would be, when you identify those barriers, what does the school district does to support, alleviate those barriers with the families? what steps do you guys take to support, alleviate a little bit of the barriers?
Well, it's let's pick making sure we get students to school when they are in a different home environment than they have been. You know, an example was this week we used our Spanish-speaking resources to call and talk with our families to say, okay, we're going to come pick you up in a white van. These people are, you know, going to come pick your child up, but the resource we have is right now is a van to drive our students to school, making sure that the kitchen knows they might be getting there a little bit late. Let's make sure we have food set aside for the student, and making sure that questions are asked and answered in Spanish so that the families feel comfortable and know what is happening with their child.
Also, I know that we have some families from Guatemala. They speak a different dialect. It can be spoken in Mam, Conjobar, or Quiche. Do you have, because again, we try to identify and see how when we also support with resources, you know, do you have an interpreter, Mam interpreter, let's say, or Conjobar? Do you have an agency that you guys connect, or do you need support in that? Because if you have a family who speak Mam, how are you guys going to be communicating?
Yeah, we do have an interpretive service that we use that provides support for both Hmong and how do you say it? Chiquite? Is that, am I saying it correctly? Quiche. Yeah.
Quiche or Conjobar.
Yeah, we have interpreter services that we use that support that.
Okay. Thank you. I know we have more questions, but I just wanted to acknowledge you that sometimes when, and I identified a family who was speaking Mam, and we were seeking for an interpreter using the language line. Or the time with the other side of the line was Mam interpreter. My family didn't understood. So just making sure that Mam can be spoken in different regions of the country. So just addressing that and acknowledging, you know, before you call your interpreter, Mam from what side of the country, east, north, you know, or south. And that way you are providing the right interpretation.
We do our best.
We are here to support.
You know what's interesting as an observation, you know, I don't know how many different languages we have in this country in order to, you know, serve our students and parents. It's got to be a lot, I'm assuming. I don't even want to hazard a guess, you know, 40, 50, that might be low. You know, I shouldn't even say a number because it just sounds ignorant. But, you know, what I'm seeing is this seems like a good career field for folks to go into, as there's such a great need for interpreters, both orally and written. It does kind of seem like a space that people could really carve out a pretty good living. What do you guys think of that?
Oh, absolutely. I was driving a young student to work, and he was saying that he's teaching his parents English, and I was telling him, absolutely do not lose your ability to speak fluent Spanish, because that is going to help you go so far and have different opportunities. And like you were saying, I think there's a school district in Burien that has, I think there's a school district in Burien that has 96 different languages spoken in one high school.
Wow. That's incredible. Can you imagine the logistics for that?
No.
You know,
and how do you find interpreters for 96 different languages?
Right, absolutely. You know, and with the older kids, I wonder if there could be, you know, some kind of a stipend or some kind of incentive to encourage them to provide that service. It may just not only be their family, but there may be some other families that could, kind of do a student employment type thing. I don't know, what the legalities are of that, but trying to find unique solutions to solve problems might be an avenue to
Yes.
travel.
Yes.
Yeah.
And how did you find it, Jenny? Is by connecting with organizations that we have, again, to support. There are services here in Kitsap County, a local agency, interpreter agency that provides a variety of languages, interpreters. So we have, like, in find Kanjobar, Mam, Quiche, Spanish, and many other languages. So I'd be happy to provide you guys with that resource. Again, we just try to eliminate barriers and how can we, best support, but also on the side of the school district, what are you guys doing to eliminate those barriers? And thank you.
So another question is as you begin to tackle all of these different equity issues, what do you think success will look like as you go forward? Amy, do you want to jump in?
That is a very broad answer because we really do have so many issues that we are working on making sure that students have their needs met, making sure that they have access and making sure that we're eliminating barriers. So to answer it broadly, I would say that success would look like that more students are engaged, more students are participating and graduating, more families are informed, and there's a lot of detail that we could go into that. I would also say students feel like they have a greater sense of belonging in their schools and in their classrooms. That would be another big indicator that it is successful. And then we do have kind of more specific success criteria, for lack of a better word, for specific smaller initiatives that we're working on.
As we go back to Martha and Jenny, when they were on here the other day, we asked them, what made them want to become, get into this field. So what about being an equity specialist really kind of called out to you?
I started equity work when I started working at middle school, and really the driver for it was my students. Middle school's changed my life, and that is not an exaggeration to say that. And part of that, and the thing that really got me interested in equity work at middle school was my students were much more vocal than my students were at elementary. They're older, they have more of awareness of what's going on and how it's impacting them, and they really started talking about it. And as they started talking, I started asking more questions and started listening to them. And really the thing that got me into it was the stories that I heard from them broke my heart for the most part. And I didn't want them to have to continue to experience the things that they had experienced that were heartbreaking. And I didn't want future students to experience that either. So my motivation and my why is completely student driven, and listening to them. And because of that, I'm a huge proponent of student voice and encouraging that in all of our buildings this year, making sure that they're having, it can look different at different buildings, but having something of making sure you're listening to your students and then acting based on what they're telling you.
Oh, absolutely. I love it. Martha, the question is for you, as you begin to tackle those equity issues, what will success look like? And it is a really broad question. If there's a particular thing that's in your mind that you want to address, this is what success will look like, and, improving communication or whatever you might be thinking of, if you want to kind of drill it down to one or two things.
So actually, for me, I look at success in two ways. So on a daily basis, I look for success because that's what feeds me. every day. So when I go home, I want to feel good about what I did that day. And so success sometimes is going into a classroom and watching a student interact with their teacher, or working with the student and seeing the growth that they have made, or seeing them access the content, seeing them get it when the light comes on and they get this aha. That's success right there, because that student is able to access his or her education, and then I can feel good about their, the possibilities for their future. And so I guess in a bigger sense, for me, success for this year, what I am hoping for is to be able to see that more students and more families feel a sense of belonging in their building, that our families can walk into a building and know that they belong there, and that school is going to try to meet their needs. That doesn't mean that every time we're going to be able to meet all of their needs because of the language barriers and that, but that we are building systems, and that we are working towards to meeting those needs, and that I guess that would be the biggest thing for me, is that by the end of this year, I want to be able to say, okay, we have built some systems, we have systems in place that create environments where these families and our students, where all families and all students have a sense of belonging, have a sense of community, and that their needs are being met.
That's pretty awesome. And I've been in a lot of spaces where I haven't felt comfortable. How do you intend on measuring how comfortable they feel by the end of the year? Are you going to put out a survey or interview parents and students at the end to see?
So one of the things that we find in research is that students succeed when they have that sense of belonging. And so when they feel safe at school, then they are more successful. And so, of course, one of the things that we will be looking at is how students are doing in school academically. And then, our plan is to gather more student voice, and then hear from our families too. So that's how we're going to gather that data. Like I said, I am brand new to Central Kitsap, and both Amy and I are brand new to our roles. And so a lot of this is still work in progress, and we're still planning what our year will look like, and kind of wrapping our brains around the work that we will be engaged in.
And if I'm correct, these positions didn't exist before this year, correct?
No, these positions have existed for about 3 years now. We 3 years ago, we had one teacher who was on a full-time release. And then 2 years ago, we had two teachers. So we had two teachers on full-time release for 2 years and one teacher for 3. So those positions, they were called TOSAs, which means a teacher on a special assignment. And we've renamed them this year when Amy and Martha came on board, because really we have curriculum specialists in the curriculum department, and they are people that specialize in math or specialize in reading or science. And so Amy and Martha are the two teachers on special assignment who are specializing in equity. So we changed their name to be in alignment with the other specialist.
Nice. So what would you say by the end of the year? How will you know if you're tackling those equity issues? What does success look like from your standpoint?
Well, there's a couple things, but really my big picture, my big goal is that zip code and race no longer determine academic outcomes. We are not going to have an achievement gap. We are not going to be able to do predictability of a student's academic outcome based on race or zip code anymore. So that means everyone is getting an education. And building on what Martha and Amy explained, if students feel valued, if students feel that they matter, if they see themselves in the curriculum, they are going to be more likely to attend school, to engage in school, and then do the learning. So that's definitely what I'm going to see a success if we no longer can predict academic performance by race or zip code. We will be hearing from our students and our parents to say, how are we doing? Do your students feel better about coming to school? Looking at that, we have the thought exchange survey that we send out. I'm not sure if you've done that before, but there's lots of opportunities to tell us what you think and share with us what has happened. And so we'll have actual kind of subjective data that is said in words, but then by reaching out and doing our, our student voice groups and involving parents and having parents give us some feedback, or parents of color, or parents that live on the east side of the district.
So,
for examples,
if a parent wanted to get a hold of that survey, is that something where you take a time out of the day and say, okay, everyone's going to do this survey, or is it just come into the office if you want to fill it out?
We have it available. It's an electronic survey. And so all of our buildings send out links to take the survey. It's also available on our Instagram and our Facebook. And on our district website, so people can get on and participate in the survey.
Oh, awesome. I like that. Katrina or Martitha, do you want to ask question 4?
Question 4. Well, before question 4, I have one question that I wanted to. Jenny, I know that you mentioned that you are, the new director for equity, and you will be in your position for a short term. What is your mission and your vision, let's say for short, long? That would be for the next one, but your mission and your vision. What is your vision in the short term? See from this.
My vision is to really help support getting some systems set up with how we can support students, looking at how can we get feedback from our students and our families, and supporting the class meeting work that Amy and Martha are leading with our partnership with the WEA, and how we have a district-wide expectation that everyone is participating in class meetings. So we're doing a lot of training. Each building has a class meeting teacher leader. And to have those people on the same page and buildings having the same expectations, and knowing class meetings look different at different grade levels, but getting to the point where class meetings are student-centered, student-led, and students talking about issues that are important to them. That would be part of my very clear vision that I have for this year. We also have an equity teacher leader at each one of our buildings that are going to be able to provide training to a building on their building identified area of focus. Each building has received feedback from their families, from their students, from their staff, and they have picked and identified, the equity team at these sites has picked areas to focus on, because you can't do it all, right? There's a lot. And so by having an area of focus that's very specific and unique, the equity teacher leader can then work with Amy and Martha, myself, to bring building level support for that building area focus, whether it's family engagement, whether it's supporting our families of color, different LGBTQ support work, where it's training for staff on how to better support the students of their building. So really making sure those are going. We need to have intentional and strategic use of an equity lens tool as we make decisions, looking at that, what barriers are these decisions putting up? Who is making these decisions? Not every decision can be taken through an equity lens tool, because some decisions have legal ramifications or contractual ramifications, but looking at, okay, when we're going to provide tutoring, okay, let's look at that. Let's look at who's making this decision. Are we doing what's best for students? Are we doing what's best for families? Have we asked students? Have we asked families? Looking at using that equity lens tool as we make decisions. So those are some real concrete things that we are trying to put in place so that we have systems where students can have a voice, students can talk about issues that concern them, so that teachers can hear from their students what's happening.
Oh, I don't know, man.
Go ahead, Okoye. You had your hand up there.
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Absolutely.
All right. You know, one of the things that I'm really concerned about going back to school after, you know, we have come out of this virtual learning space and the students are coming back into the school district. How are they intentionally connecting with those students that have had challenges over not just learning in that virtual space, but how are we, because I know plenty of our students were struggling in that virtual learning environment, and how are they intentionally coming back and really addressing some of those barriers and challenges that those students might have had, because we've learned a little over the pandemic, and now that you are going back into that learning space and know that that's a challenge, and know that coming this fall and winter, we might have to move back into an abbreviated learning environment that is in a virtual space again. So my question to you is, the things that we've learned over the time that we were dealing with COVID, with those barriers, many of them with students of color, have you all addressed those barriers? Are we going back into the school with those challenges and many more that they were faced with when they went into this virtual learning space? And I don't know if that makes sense, or you know, the challenges there, because we know a lot of our students just dropped out. And I know what nobody's talking about, those concerns, and knowing that those students were struggling. How are we getting them back on track?
Okoye, I will tell you, there are several different things that we've put into place as part of our recovery plan, because you know, Central Kitsap's not alone in that, as you know. North Kitsap, Bremerton, Wenatchee, Phoenix, we're all going through this. But what we've done is we use some of our ESSER dollars that we receive to help with re-entry and recovery from the pandemic, to hire counselors for each building. So our elementary schools, which used to share counselors, each have a full-time counselor, so that they are going to be able to provide that support to those elementary students. And then at our high schools, we hired, well, we're in the process, it's been really difficult, but we're in the process of hiring a counselor that is not for academic focus, but really for those students that are in crisis situations. They're called like a tier 3 counselor, working with students. They go meet with their regular counselor and realize that there's food insecurities, there's job concerns, there's abuse that they've suffered, you know, drug use, you name it, that the things that people have gone through during this pandemic. And having a person that's able to work with them, work with our community resources, and see what needs this student has, and provide them with that support. Looking at implementing the MPSS framework for all students, tier 1, for some students, tier 2, and then tier 3, looking at what are our students that need the most support, and how can we provide that. We also have hired, like we've talked about, a interpreter. We've also hired a family community outreach district level position to help reach out to those families. We've working with our McKinney-Vento families to look at families that don't have secure housing, how that can be provided. What can we do to make sure that meals are provided? Looking at those different pieces. So we've used our recovery reentry funds to really focus a lot on supporting those students, as well as academic support. But you were just asking about the social emotional support. Mark, did you add anything else?
Just try though.
I was just going to add that, so academically, a lot of our students struggled with accessing, their education this last year and a half, and so there are systems in place in the schools to support students in taking them where they are now, and then supporting them so that they can both access the content and their education right now, but also supporting them with additional resources and with additional instruction that is very intentional for their specific needs. And so I think that that's going to be key. The big thing that I walked away with the summer as we got ready to come back to school was that when we're working with students, the understanding that we are meeting students where they are right now, and we are supporting them where they are right now. And so this is not about a deficit mindset. This is not about, all of this learning that they lost. No, it's about meeting them where they are right now, and then supporting them so that they can be ready for this year and then beyond.
I appreciate that. I actually have a statement with a question on the back. I taught at Olympic College for a number of years and sat on digital literacy committees and tried to work on issues of equity there. And what we saw was there were so many adult learners that did not have computer literacy skills. And so when you're coming in and you're trying to learn math and English and whatever your major is, whatever the case may be, and then you're adding computer literacy on top of that, that's very frustrating, terrifying, especially when there's so much on the line for these adult learners. And so these learners are here now as adults, but they were kids at one point in time. And so because of the pandemic that put people into this remote situation, we could see not only did the parents have this deficit, but the kids have this deficit also. And so as they're coming back in, is there anything in place? Are there any talks to say, you know what, we need to make sure that if we find kids going back into a hybrid model or back into a fully virtual model, are they going to have the requisite skills that they need? And are their parents going to have those skills in order to continue to, decrease that gap so that their learning isn't interrupted in that way?
I can speak at least a little bit to that. So there is a plan in place for if a classroom or a building needs to go into remote learning, and teachers have 3 days worth of lessons ready to post at any time that students then can do. And then and those lessons, and again, it's going to depend on content and grade level, but those lessons are going to review review the digital literacy skills, review some of the things they've already learned in class. If we do have to go fully virtual, a benefit of this year that we couldn't prepare for the last 2 years, because 2 years ago we didn't know that schools were going to be shutting down, and then last year we started fully virtual, is that teachers have students in front of them to be able to actually show them, have them practice it, because that was, being in the classroom myself last year, that was a huge challenge of, I can't even show you how to do this because I have a video, but you can't even access the video yet. And so being able to work around that. So the fact that students are in front of teachers right now, will help with that. That said, we do have a district-wide emphasis always, but especially this year, on relationship building. You've got to build those relationships with your students, and that's a year-long focus, but especially at the beginning of the year, focus on relationships over content for now, because that will come. And then that, if we do move fully virtual, that will help, because there's that trust and relationship already built.
Yeah, absolutely. And Okoye wants to jump back in, but just as a follow-up, there's even, things like having keyboarding skills, because if you can't type, then it takes you a whole lot longer to, peck through an assignment,
Right.
which is really frustrating. And then how to troubleshoot if there are any kind of technical issues that, kids and parents need to try to resolve, because once, that thing goes down, well, all learning is stopped. So, is there an opportunity to build some class time when they're face to face with the teacher to say, hey, you know what, we're going to pull out laptops right now, and we're going to kind of go through this and have virtual learning that's in the classroom. So when they transition, it's pretty seamless. You know what I mean? Is there anything like that that's kind of set in there? I'll go to Okoye and then Martitha once someone answers that. And then
this is the conversation that we need to have, because it's very vital. Because what we found during COVID was, not only did our kids not have access, they didn't have the right equipment. They didn't even have that, parents couldn't even help their own children to navigate the system, upload their assignments, do all of these things. And that caused a lot of trauma, and stress. And the parents already was in a place where they were feeling inadequate to help and support their own children's learning. And so that digital divide is real. And what did we learn from the time that we went remote to now going back? That's vital. That there should have been some constant a learning and reflection going on, because even our schools were challenged with, how do we do this digitally? We're going remote, but, everyone was thrown into that same, stress and crises during the pandemic. But, with education, having access and resources, but then parents don't. So how do we talk about, equipping the parents as well? Because parents was frustrated, I can tell you that, trying to navigate our school systems, taking the surveys, doing all of those things. Because I heard we've been having conversation that we're gonna do surveys to get information from the parents and everything. Well, when you're already a ESL, English second language, and dealing with it, and then parents don't even they don't even have those all of that intact. Man, we're talking about a whole nother game, trying to support and those marginalized families. That and how do we take our most vulnerable and equip them and put stepping stones so that they can get there and being able to be successful when they get there as well. So that's kind of where my head is at, because here we are. Yes, we've started school, but for how long? With these variances, do we know? No, we don't know anything. So I'm always moving towards intervention and prevention. And, we take these preventative measures to help put that support in place. It's not if, we will go, it's when we go back and or these things or these disasters or crises present themselves. How are we better informed, better equipped, given knowledge to help us to go through some of these challenges? And so that's where those are some of the things that I would hope that is in a part of the conversation with our school board and with our staff, superintendents, and parents and students.
So I could speak to this. So we are working on being able to provide tools for parents, and so I've met with a couple of our staff here at Teaching and Learning, and so what we are working on is creating videos, parent-friendly videos in, right now in Spanish, so that it walks parents through every step of, everything from creating an email account to writing an email to opening an attachment, how to use a digital translator, how to access content, and so these very short videos that are made by us, where they walk parents step by step, and then these will be shared with parents as needed. And so this will be not just for technology use, but even how to contact your building and how to let your building know that your student is ill, how to send that email or make that phone call. And so that is work that has started at the district level, and I'm sure it's going to take some time to develop these videos and get these sent out, and we'll develop them as the needs arise, and then of course we have a list of ideas and videos that we want to ensure that we have on hand.
Oh, I love that idea. Martita, you've been kind of nodding your head the entire time, so jump in there.
Yes, thank you. Well, we have here, I think, the perfect person that is if we go, she has Katrina, our youth student, that if we go hybrid, right, we go full online learning, and she can share with you, things that how she been struggling, or if she see the future, how she can be struggling, how can you guys support?
Well, I did both. I did both the online learning at the very end of the year, the hybrid. The hybrid was definitely better than virtual, but it's, for me specifically, in my experience, I have ADHD. So staring at a computer and watching a teacher keep talking and then asking you to do an assignment at the same time and stay engaged, it's like I'm hearing him talk, but I'm not grasping it. I'm not staying engaged. So it was hard for me online, and it's also the typing on the computer. You're constantly typing, and for me, I need to write it down to really absorb the information, and all the assignments were online, and it wasn't really, you could print them out and do the assignment. So now that we're in person, we're doing a lot of writing down. There's a lot more assignments, and we're having class discussions where everybody's talking and giving their thoughts and ideas. I really struggled virtually. And I think part of it was being at home. It's hard to make a space for learning when you're in a place that is somewhere where you can come home and relax, and let your mind wander. So it was hard for me to continue staying focused. So I've now made an area where I can focus, but it is more beneficial to go out to a library or somewhere that's not home, where you can really get focused and do work.
So Katrina, let me ask you, because I think it's awesome to get a perspective from a student. Do you know what your learning style is? Are you multimodal? Are you visual? Are you kinesthetic? Are you auditory? And what kind of strategies, aside from, you've created a space now, but what else did you do to create a learning environment for you to kind of offset the ADHD and other challenges that you had?
So whenever a teacher is giving a lecture in class, and we have to do notes, for me, I will write down the notes as fast as possible so that I can then listen to what the teacher is saying. And then when I go home, I rewrite all my notes and color coordinate them so that I'm not distracted by just gray, and I'll just not be able to really absorb it. So I usually do something like that. And so when I'm not focused on note taking and listening to the teacher, I can really just focus like all my attention on the teacher and on the notes, and then learn the notes later. And then for my room, what I did was I made it more open. So everything is like up against the wall, and I have like a big space in the middle. And then my desk is angled towards the window. So I'm looking outside, so I'm not distracted by anything in my room. And I try to keep my room as clean as possible, not any clutter, because that can also be distracting, you know, because at school, you go to school, you have room to do things, it's clean, it's a bright environment, you have the lights, and you're able to focus.
Did the school provide any kind of resources for you, or is that already built into some of the curriculum, like how to note take, like using the Cornell system or mind mapping?
Yes, so I am taking an AP class right now in high school, and that kind of note taking is different. For my AP class last year with history, because I did world history, it was very hard to take notes. I had the book online, so I was staring at a screen and trying to take notes that way, but without really like talking to a teacher. Him explaining it through the computer just wasn't helpful, and I ended up taking notes that weren't correct, because history teaches you to think like a historian. So it's not just about like summarizing, it's about contextualization, analyzing, and it's just hard to teach that when you're not in person. But this year, I mean, I have good resources right now for taking notes, but it's also just so much more motivating when you know you have to go to school and to get things done so that you can do well in class.
So we have some experts here. So, you know, Jenny, Martha, and Amy, what advice or tips would you give to Katrina and students like her if we go back into a hybrid mode or virtually 100%? What kind of things could she do to help her to be successful?
I'll start. And I actually have another appointment, so I need
Sure,
to go
absolutely.
in 2 minutes. But I would say, and Katrina, it sounds like you are an amazing student. First of all, I love all of your strategies that you have used, and it sounds like you have some good self-awareness of what you need and are able to do some problem solving to fix that. So speaking just since I was in the classroom last year and I had virtual students or students virtually, my advice would be reach out to your teachers individually. I loved it when students did that for me, and I was able to provide more individualized support on that. It was hard in like the class-wide Google Meets because not very many students would ask individual questions. But if they stayed after, or if they sent me an email, then I was better able to know what they needed. That was one of the things I really missed about being in the classroom. Is in the classroom, typically I walk around and I can kind of see whether students are directly asking me or not. I can kind of see where they're stuck and kind of give them the next thing to do. But virtually, I couldn't see what they were working on or what they were stuck on. So I would say, reach out to your teachers. I am confident they would love to hear from you.
Yeah, I did struggle with that a bit last year because I'm not someone that likes to ask for help.
Yeah.
You know, because I don't want to seem I'm dumb or I don't know the answer. So, and I know that's not true if you don't know the answer, but still it's like really hard for me to email my teachers and like ask them for help because I don't want to bother them. And also when they would do like, when they would ask the class, how are you feeling on this subject? I'd be like, oh, I'm great, I got it. Even though I would struggle a bit and just spend so much more time on it at home when I could have just figured it out real quick if I would have asked for help. So I'm trying to be better about that this year.
Yeah, and I actually heard very similar things from students too, so you are not alone in that. And I mean, it is completely valid to feel uncomfortable reaching out. I can guarantee you that it is not a bother. It was my greatest joy to have a student reach out to me. So I understand that you kind of feel like you're imposing, but I tell students in person and virtually, helping you is literally my job. And so if you can give me more information on what you need so I can better help you, that is that is exactly what I want. So I do need to go, but thank you so much for your time in this conversation.
Well, we thank you so much for coming, and we hope that
Thank you, Amy.
we appreciate you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Amy.
Thank you, guys.
As we get some tips from Martha and Jenny, one of the strategies that I used is I knew that students don't like to ask questions for a myriad of reasons. So I actually built that in as an assignment, just to encourage that communication back and forth. So one, it gave them skills, but two, it got them used to reaching out to me, and it just made it a lot easier if it's a mandatory thing. So then you could see that the questions would start to flow a little bit more because they already had to do it. So now that they're doing it, I might as well ask you because I don't understand. So I found that to be a helpful strategy. But what other advice would you give to students, Martha and Jenny?
So last year I found that for some of our students, it was difficult to take the time to write the email or to write their questions out. And so one of the suggestions that I gave them was to have this template essentially that is ready to go, that just even something simple as I am stuck, I really need some help, and then just being able to copy and paste that and send it out because some of the students were saying that, when they're sitting there and they're trying to think about what to say or how to write this or how to ask the question, they just gave up because they couldn't sit there and figure out how to best ask the question. And so I told them sometimes something as simple as Mr. So-and-so or Mrs. So-and-so, I am stuck, I need some help, and then their signature, and send that out. And if you have that sitting in a document that you can copy and paste or an email that you can copy and paste, and then just get that out. Initially, that's the hardest step, is reaching out and asking for help. And then once that teacher responds, it makes it easier then to be very specific about what it is that you need. The other advice I gave some of our students that were struggling that were English language learners is let's schedule let's schedule a time for you to meet with this teacher or these teachers 30 minutes once a week. And so you show up in this Zoom meeting or classroom meet at this time every week on Tuesdays at 2:00. And that is set aside so that you can get help. Now, if you don't need help, then it's easy to email and say, I don't need help today. Thank you very much. But if it's scheduled, then you're going to show up and they're going to be ready to help you. And so that would be the advice that I would give is that just have that message ready to go. And so then you don't have to worry about whether, what you should say or how you should start that message. And then maybe follow up with a set help time with the several teachers or the teacher that in the class that you're struggling with.
Yeah, I love that advice. Jenny?
Yeah, thank you.
I'm so impressed that you do something with your notes. That was the thing I would tell my students. You've got to do something with your notes, because until you reorganize it or you color code it or you put questions, Cornell notes, you put questions there. It doesn't matter how many pages you take, you're not going to remember, and it's not going to go in until you do something with your notes. So I was super excited when you were talking about that. And I do that myself. My pens are different colors and I have arrows and bubbles and different things still as an adult. The one thing is kind of building on what Marwan was saying about having a system in place where you have to ask questions so that the teacher can respond, whether it's the Cornell notes and the teacher can see the questions when you submit your assignment, or creating a blog where you have to ask a question and other students have to, two other students need to respond to it. And then someone else you have to write one question and do 2 responses to other questions or something like that. To create, as a teacher, you create the environment where in the Google Classroom, where there's a system in place where questions have to be asked. Then as the student, you can go through and you can scroll and see if your question's already been asked and see if anyone else has provided an answer, and or the teacher can provide an answer to something that the students are unable to, but it really lets the teacher see, oh my goodness, I thought I taught this and I didn't. And so it gives that opportunity. So building in structures to check for learning, but then also what you've been doing, Katrina, is taking ownership for your learning and going home and reorganizing it. And you may see, oh my gosh, I have a giant hole here. I did not get that. And what I do when I'm in different programs is I then start Googling what is the difference here? And then sometimes I read something and it triggers what I heard the teacher talking about, and then I can start seeing what that through line was. Because like you, I sometimes get distracted and start zoning out. And so you might miss kind of a key piece or some parts of it, and then being able to do some Googling and see what I can connect on my own or ask the teacher.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And all of those strategies are necessary. And I can tell you, teaching at the college level, whether you are in elementary, junior high, or high school, you are going to need those skills once you get into college. And if you don't go to college and you go straight to work, you're going to need those skills. So, you know, build those skills in now. They're going to take you a long way for sure. Absolutely. You know, we got 2 more questions for you ladies. Other than Mesa Rotunda, what specific steps will you take to engage with the greater Hispanic community?
Yeah, you're on. You're on. You're on.
So I would say that we have already started using some additional steps to engage with our Hispanic community. So one of the ways that we are engaging is that we are using the systems that are already in place, such as School Messenger that sends out, emails and communication to all of our families. So one of the ways that we're using School Messenger at Central Kitsap is we are sending out a robocall or a voice call, recorded call in the family's language that kind of summarizes the mass communication that is going out to our families. And so by doing that, we are ensuring that our families that are bilingual have the information, or that are Spanish speakers have the information, but also, we have some families that maybe don't have the literacy that they need in order to read those emails. And so by sending those recorded calls, now they receive the messages, through the phone, through the recorded phone call.
All right, that is pretty awesome. Martita, you go ahead.
Yes. So the question also is, other than Kitsap Mesa Redonda, what specific steps, what he said, right, to engage to the greater Hispanic community, talking about not families that are enrolled into CK, for the entire Hispanic community. What specific steps will you take to engage? Reaching out. When I'm reaching out to the Hispanic community.
So I guess so. Being new to Central Kitsap, again, I am. My role is for my job is brand new to me, and then getting to know Central Kitsap, not just the teaching community, but also our families and our student communities. And so one of the steps that I hope to take is just engage in some of the community events, as I have done for North Kitsap previously. So engage in those community events. Attend as many as I am able to, and then continue to work with organizations, such as Kayak, as I have in the past, and other school districts. So in the past, I have visited events at like at Armajar and other schools where they have events for the families and for their students. And so I personally will continue to do that because I want to get to know the community in Central Kitsap, and I want to be part of that community. And so that's, it's part of my job, part of my role here at Central Kitsap, but also personally, I hope to be able to engage in more of the Central Kitsap community and events.
All right. Sounds like Martita likes that answer. She's smiling. It is Mexican International Day. How are the school districts acknowledging and celebrating that this year?
Mexican Independence Day, yay! Starting tonight.
Yeah, tonight.
I'm going to let Martha talk about this. We have, for the first time ever, district-wide celebrations that we are doing for the month. And a team has been working really hard to recognize, acknowledge, and celebrate. So Martita, do you want to talk a little bit about that? Or Martha?
That's okay. So I am delighted to say that tonight our website will go live where we celebrate Hispanic Heritage Month at Central Kitsap. So we have a recorded video from Superintendent. And then we have recorded, we will have recorded video from our students at various schools where they speak about, the pride they have in their culture and in being Hispanic or being Latino. And so I guess our big theme is orgullosamente Latino porque. So I am proud to be a Latino because, and that is what our students are sharing with us. So we will have videos for our students. We also will have, and Jenny just put the link to the site in chat, but we'll also have lesson plans for our teachers at the school levels. We're going to have a display on a wall that has images of historical figures and pop culture and just people that have made a difference, Hispanics and Latinos that have made a difference that we look to, so that our students can see themselves in those images. And we've surveyed our families actually, and we asked them to provide those names for us, and we asked them to tell us what it is they wanted to celebrate, how they wanted to celebrate. And so we're using the data from the survey. We use the data from the survey, and we'll continue to use it to build the website. We have, like I said, lesson plans and various videos, and so you'll want to go to this website at least once a week, if not more, because we will continue to add to the content that's there. So this is very exciting to us. And Martita May, I believe that we've requested an image from you so that we can have you at our school so that our students can see, one of our community leaders. And again, that we want them to be able to see themselves as leaders in the community and in our country.
That is fantastic. That is fantastic.
Oh my goodness, that touches my heart. I didn't know that you guys did surveys and families. Oh my God. I'm speechless. I didn't know that families were providing names. Thank you. There's other people better than me, honestly. But thank you. It would be an honor. Thank you.
Well, the chat or the link is in the chat there for anyone that wants to go to the website. I definitely encourage you to do so. We have one final question, and does every school building have adequate translation services for all information going home to families? And are there translators available in all languages? And if not, how are those families who speak non-translated languages provided the information they need? I know you kind of touched on that second part a little bit earlier, but does every school building have adequate translation services for all information going home to families?
No. honest answer is no. But I'm not. And we are using tools that are available to us. District-wide communications are able to be translated in Spanish and Tagalog. If a family is communicating, we do verbal calls and have somebody with the language translation service read the document to the family in the language. You know, there's shortcomings with that. You have to get a hold of somebody and talk to somebody on the phone. We do use Google Translate. Teachers will use that when they're doing some communications, which is not the best, but it's better than nothing. But so no, the answer is no, we don't have it at all buildings to the level that we need. And we're getting better, but we're not where we need to be yet.
All right. I definitely appreciate you for that. And, you know, we've gone a little bit over our time. Super informative. What I want to do is give the ladies of CK kind of the final word, just to kind of send us off with anything they want to leave us with, any nuggets of information, tips, action items for parents, for us in the community.
Let us reach out to us, talk to us, ask us the questions that you have. We very much want to answer your questions because sometimes it's things we hadn't thought about or aren't aware of yet or didn't realize what the need was sometimes. So please reach out and ask. And that's how we're going to get better. So thank you.
And I hope you don't mind. I just want to say it in Spanish. Familias, queremos que si necesitan algo, si tienen preguntas, que se comuniquen con nosotros, que nos digan qué es lo que necesitan y también si necesitamos mejorar, que nos digan en qué áreas necesitamos mejorar, porque solo podemos mejorar los servicios si ustedes participan en este mejoramiento. Así es de que es un placer servirles y estamos aquí para seguir apoyándolos. Gracias.
Absolutely.
English? We say it in English.
Yes, I can say it in English and I can remember everything I said. So I just said, hey, we're here to support our families, and we're asking our families to, like Jenny said, to reach out to us, to ask questions. And also, you know what, we want to grow. We want to get better at serving our families. We want to get better at our craft. And so if you know, you see an area of growth, and let us know. Let us know what we can do better, what how we can refine our craft, and then that way that will allow us to get better at serving our families and our students. So please reach out, ask questions, share your concerns, and also we also want to celebrate what we're doing well. And so if we're doing something well, reach out and tell us that we're doing something well, because then that gives us a little boost.
Absolutely.
Let us know to continue doing stuff.
Yeah, it can't only be critique, right? You've got to tell folks are doing a good job. We support you.
Yes.
And you know, boost them on, right? It's hard work, as we said before, but there are people that are willing and able to do the work. So we need to support our folks. Again, I want to thank the three of our guests today: Jenny Zapatka, Director of Equity and Inclusion for Central Kitsap School District; Martha Little and Amy White, Equity Specialist for Central Kitsap School District. We're so privileged to have you come on and talk with us and share. We hope that you will continue to come on from time to time and share with us. You know, we pray for your strength and your ability to go forward and make the changes that need to be made. And, you know, we acknowledge, you know, all the growth that you have done and all the gains that you have made. And we just give you Godspeed on that. Yeah, we definitely appreciate you for sure.
And we congratulate you for hiring Martha Little. She's the perfect person, specialist. And I just wanted to say to the school district, to Jenny, thank you. You had the best lady out there. I've been working with Martha for many years, and then she has a heart. Oh, congratulations.
All right. Well, for Katrina Martita, and Okoye. I'm Marwan Cameron. This is The Conduit. Thank you for joining us, and we will see you next time.